Here we go. Exercise and its impact on hormones. And 3, 2, 1. I don't. You got it?
I shouldn't have taken it off at all.
Okay. What's up? My name is Jyima Ofori-Atta, certified personal trainer and a holistic health coach.
My name is Shireen. I'm a registered dietitian, integrative health practitioner, holistic health coach, and much more.
And we're going to be here breaking down wellness for you. Let's vibe out, the Jyim Life podcast. Here we go. Exercise and its impact on hormones. And 3, 2, 1. I don't know if you run into this issue at all, but for me, that getting my clients to trust me that is going to be helpful to relax a little bit. like, no, we have to push harder. I'm like, no, trust me. I know the goal that you're trying to get to, which is, let's say, reduce fat, all these things, build muscle. Taking a step back is actually going to help that. Have you run into that issue?
We just love to suffer as a society. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Even when I worked out with you, I was like, God, I feel so good after. I was like, did I not get to work? Like, I'm even trying to break out of that mentality. Like, I was like, I could do 10 pounds. I don't need to do 8 pounds, or I don't need to do 5 pounds. You know, it's really hard to break outside of it. But when you do and you see results, you're like, wow, like, I don't have to suffer.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's so funny when clients work with me for like the first week or two, especially if they come from like CrossFit, these other places, they're in shock. They're like, wait, I don't feel like I'm about to die at the end. I'm like, no, that's not the point. Like, my goal is to get it so that you want to come back tomorrow.
Yep.
Right? And there's this one podcast I listened to a while ago where they talked about like just the math and volume over intensity, right? So if we go to level 7, right, that means I'll be able to go again tomorrow. Versus if I go to level 10, I may not be able to go 5 or 6 days. So say you go to level 10, 2-3 times a week, now you're at 30 in terms of volume. But if you go to level 7 for 5 days, you're at 35. So you're getting more work over time.
Right.
You just scale back just a little, not too much, but scale back just a little.
But it's not even that, not to mention the positive impact going at a level 5 or level 7 has on your hormones versus going at a level 10. Because in the end, your productivity is so much higher. Because when you start messing with your hormones, your productivity is going to get lower, lower, and lower. And that's in the long term. Right. So if someone's working with you for only like 6 weeks to 8 weeks, okay, like maybe being at a level 10 3 days a week might work for them.
Right.
But they're going to hit a plateau. What does that plateau mean? That's just your hormones saying, I'm done being in survival mode. And like now I'm just frozen and stuck.
Inside.
And that's really, we're looking at the longevity of it, right? With anything, if I'm coaching someone and they're like, I want to lose 10 pounds for my wedding, and then they just want to serve themselves and they gain 25 pounds after that. Where is the joy in that? And where is the health in that, right? So our goal is health. So if we're looking at health, we're looking at longevity. We're not looking at a temporary fix, instant gratification. And it may take a different kind of work, or maybe 5 days a week versus 3 days a week, but it's actually work that's going to pay off, right?
You know what you just brought up that's insanely important is you burn the least amount of calories when you're working out. So your hormonal response is when your body's doing the real work in terms of like reducing fat, burning calories. That's happening after the workout.
Yep.
So you have to think, you want to set yourself up so that your body feels good and it's taking care of things the way it's supposed to after the workout. And the best way to do that is to make sure you're not stressed and dying when you leave.
Exactly. And just working out is like a tune-up, like taking your body to the body shop, right? You're getting a little tune-up. So then throughout the day, your metabolism is boosted. So while you're eating, while you're working, while you're doing everything else, you have a boosted metabolism. You don't want to be at the level of burnout where you're even more fatigued and exhausted. Your quality of sleep is even worse when you're doing these crazy high intensity workouts.
Yes. And if you want to use an indicator, pay attention to how you feel before the workout and after the workout. If you're excited to go, you're like, okay, I'm ready to get this workout. Cool. If after the workout, you feel like, okay, I'm ready to go again. These are things that it indicates you're doing the right amount. If before that workout, you're dreading it and you're like, and then after the workout, you feel pain, tightness, soreness, all those things, chances are you need to make an adjustment somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to make sure that even if you keep in mind, even if you are not in pain, there are still ways for you to look into your body and say, did I accomplish anything in that workout? And a lot of it is mental, right? So a lot of people like the level 10 intensity because mentally it makes them feel like, wow, I've accomplished so much. But you don't have to feel like I accomplished so much through pain. You could feel that through doing something that you haven't done before, right? So I did a workout with you, and you like had me on this bike, and you're like, go on this bike for a minute.
Oh, the assault
and I was
bike,
like, okay, like that's lame, you know? And I was like 30 seconds into it, I'm like, has it been 30 minutes on this bike? And that was like my mental push, because my old mental push was like, how much pain am I feeling the next day? Or how much am I limping after this workout? Now it's like, wow, like I've never been on a bike like this. And now it's been a minute and it feels like 100 years and I made it through. And that's my new reference, right? So I changed the way I, think of a challenging situation. Overcoming a challenging situation doesn't have to be painful, I guess, or physically like injuring me in order for it to feel like an accomplishment.
Yes. And just seeing growth within your own workouts, right? So it's like, for the record, the assault bike tortures everyone when they first do it. It's tough. So it's like, okay, we went on the assault bike, and it's like, okay, the first time you were able to get to a minute. Okay, so as long as I can get to a minute 30 next time, right? Not saying I have to kill myself. So just seeing that growth and that progression within your workouts will be huge.
Right.
Will be huge. What are some, I think, hormonal responses that we are looking for that are positive, that help us, and some that could be considered like more harmful to us in relation to exercise?
So first off, men and women, completely different.
Right.
Men tend to do better with intensity than women do. And there are times that maybe women do better with intensity than other times where they may not do so well. So men do well, especially short term, with intensity, even when it comes to diet. So men tend to do well with calorie restriction. You always have this like such a typical scenario. You have a husband and a wife who start this, diet exercise regimen. The wife doesn't lose an inch or an ounce, and the husband loses like 40 pounds in a month. And he has like a 6-pack. And like the wife's looking at her husband like, ew, like, it's almost infuriating for women. A, they probably shouldn't have the same workout or diet regimen. B, women's bodies respond very differently and take time, and they're more delicate in some ways. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, women tend to have higher body fat than men, which is what makes them fertile, makes them beautiful, makes them a woman. But unfortunately, it's hard for us to accept that, because we want to have abs and we want to have like cut arms and we want to see those lines too. And it's also cultural, where we feel like if we're standing side by side with men, we want to see the same results as them when we're doing the same things. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So take into consideration, men and women are different. Women also want to consider cycling their workouts with their cycles, especially when they're premenopausal. So there's different times where your body likes different things. There might be times where walking is a good form of cardiovascular exercise, and you might do yoga other times. And then there are other times for women where HIIT could be great. So you want to take those things into consideration. Now, when it comes to strength training, I know there's so much resistance, especially for some women. Strength training is key. Women who are premenopausal or menopausal, postmenopausal, that is when strength training is even more important. That is when we stop building muscle as easily. So we want to engage in strength training, men across the board. And you do not have to lift heavy, as you know, for strength training. I feel like, so even myself, when I started getting into it, I was like, I don't want to lift heavy. And then I started taking classes where they're like, lift heavier. And I was like, okay. And I had all this low back pain. And I was like, but I lifted heavy today, so I feel so strong. And then I didn't, though, because like my back was hurting, my hamstrings were all messed up. So finding, the right weight for yourself, but that strength training is truly, truly key. And that is one thing I would say that across the board for all of us, we need some sort of strength training.
For all of the numerous benefits as far as increase in bone density, increase in balance, strength, all these things are very important. What I also think is, I would suggest to anyone is learn the proper body mechanics. So even if you need to invest in a personal trainer or even a physical therapist for 1 week, that 1 week will be all you need to get the basics.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, if you want to progress and do more, then you stay with your trainer, stay with the physical therapist, but you need a foundational sense of body mechanics.
Yes.
I've lost count of how many people have come into me too late, where they've already thrown out their backs, pulled their hamstrings, pulled hip flex, all these things that have happened. And now we're trying to go backwards and try to fix these things. So I think that's huge. And not underestimating combining your strength training with things like yoga.
Right.
Which I think is always very helpful.
Yes. And having a good balance. A lot of people like to wake up and do the same thing every single day. And when you wake up and you do the same workout every single day, I'm a yoga teacher. I do not do the same thing every day. I love yoga. Yoga is where I ground myself, and I have a mat rolled out automatically every day where I might stretch for 10, 15 minutes. But yoga is not my main source of activity every single day, my only source of movement. Right. It's part of my life almost every single day, but there's so much more that you have to do, and you have to shock your body. That's how you keep things fresh. Right. And you keep your metabolism awake and flexible. If you are not doing enough core, or you're not doing enough upper body, or you're only doing lower body, then your body's still going to be off balance. So you want to give yourself variety. You want to have the flexibility. You want to have the strength. You want to build muscle. Building muscle, ladies, I don't know, so important for your insulin levels, your blood sugar. It's so important for your hormone health. It's so important for your bone health. Once your bones start deteriorating, if you don't have muscle, you're going to just start shriveling up and shrinking.
And be injury prone.
And you're going to be injury prone. Even women in their 70s and 80s, the women who are strength training even far later on into life, those women have less falls, less chance of breaking bones, hips, less illness, less injury. It's so important. I mean, I know I'm saying it, but it's just so important to have that strength training.
People don't think about that as far as the preventative, as far as like falling and hurting yourself until it happens.
Right.
Yeah, that's very big. Also too, so when you say we like to shock our body, we want to switch things up, I'm going to take this time to also mention to people, this doesn't mean grabbing those crazy workouts from Instagram, right? Like, this doesn't mean going and finding the most complicated, handstand into a double split. Like, no, we don't. What I think is important is that we kind of like diversify our workouts.
That's probably a better choice of word. Right. Because you're right. When you say shock your body, they're like, okay, I'm going to go lift 100 pounds, free weights today.
Right. But yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, you want to continuously like surprise your body and shock it in a way of like just bringing in different things. So, I mean, even for myself, I'll go take a Pilates class, take a hot yoga class, do my strength training, then go do a kickboxing class. And just because I like to just like keep things moving and have it be different. Right.
Yeah. And there's different components to like what form of movement you choose. Some bring more joy into your life. I don't know, like for you, maybe it's boxing, or I don't know where you get, like for me, it's yoga. So that brings more emotional joy and balance into my life. But what does that do to my body? That calms my nervous system, decreases my cortisol levels, forces me to breathe, which is so important. And again, my drainage pathways, detoxifying my body. So in the end, even if you're not sweating and like beating your body down, you're still getting the benefits of that workout. A lot of people will never take a yin yoga class because they didn't burn calories. But if you think you're burning calories all day, but your body's in constant state of stress, those high cortisol levels, those high stress hormone levels are actually going to prevent you from losing weight. So you have to take the full picture into consideration. What is your mental health like? And what is your physical health like?
Could you expound more on that?
So if your mental health is not balanced, if you are constantly in a state of stress, fight or flight, your body's going to be in a constant state of inflammation. You're not going to digest and absorb your food properly. You're not going to maybe be able to have your drainage pathways as open because you're releasing a bunch of hormones that your body has to try to get rid of, stress hormones that your body has to get rid of. And eventually, if this is going on for long periods of time, maybe short term, a lot of people are like, I love being stressed. I lose weight when I'm stressed. It's like a badge of honor. And I'm like, well, let's see what happens when your body realizes that this is not a temporary state of being.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens?
And they could be losing muscle during that time as well.
Exactly. So then your health is declining. This is even the new fad with all these shots and these pills and everything that people are taking. You're losing weight rapidly. What's happening? You're constantly losing muscle mass. And what's happening is that when you lose muscle mass, if you were to get like a health score, your health score would be so much lower when you lose that muscle mass. So on this scale, your weight could be going down and your clothes could be fitting looser because you're literally shriveling up like a little raisin, but you're like, wow, I'm so skinny, I'm so thin. And you're not even thinking about the repercussions of A, what's going to happen when the weight loss stops and your body realizes it has to save itself. Or B, what's going to happen in 5 years or 10 years when you're at that age where your bones are so important and your muscle mass is so important. And that's what's going to keep you healthy and safe.
What I think is important to do is kind of have people reframe what they look at as indicators of success. So
100%.
Weight loss, yes, that can be part of the equation, but that should never, ever be the only indicator as to whether or not you're doing well or not, because there are so many things that could have you lose weight but compromise your overall health. My favorite one is just looking at body fat percentage.
Yeah.
If you can, because you can lose body fat percentage by doing things that will maximize you reducing fat after the workout. Or you see what I'm saying? So that's very important to pay attention to. And another thing you mentioned is mood. What you're eating, the exercises you're doing, and in combination with the information you get, you have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
If it's a stressor, it's always going to be counterproductive at some point. And you definitely don't want to start off thinking that you're seeing some kind of results, and then later on down the line, like, what was I doing? Well, yeah, this was 5-6 years in the making. Why are you having so much trouble now?
Exactly. And think about it. So exercise, what does that do? It's supposed to increase your dopamine, your serotonin. It helps with, cardiovascular exercise, helps with estrogen levels. It's, weight training is great for testosterone. So you're getting a lot of the good hormones. You don't even want to think about if you don't enjoy the workout or if you're doing too high of intensity workout, then you're releasing hormones that then like cortisol, that then your blood, it's going to go into your blood, or you're going to be overwhelmed with all these hormones you have to get rid of that are not serving you. But for the most part, exercise is supposed to be good for your hormones. But the thing is, you're right. If you don't change your mindset about that, if you don't have like a way to quantify, people start losing interest. I even struggle with this. I cut a lot of irritating foods out of my diet. And I really thought, I never weigh myself, but I was like, let me get on a scale and see if this affects my weight. I really never weigh myself. I don't weigh people in my practice either. And I really saw no movement on not an ounce on the scale. What happened was my entire life, my energy levels, everything shifted and changed. And from my skin to my sleep, everything just had improved tenfold. And it wasn't that I cut out unhealthy foods. I cut out foods that I knew didn't work for my body. And I like to do that because I like to remind myself that I'm also human. And I also get tempted to say, oh, like the scale hasn't moved, so therefore this is not doing anything for me, right? And that is, again, you could look at your fat or any sort of body percentage even to be able to quantify. And again, remembering that women are not supposed to have the same percentage as men, and making sure that you're not trying to make your body be something it's not meant to be, especially women who are trying to reproduce. You don't want so much testosterone that you're not able to reproduce, or you're losing your menstrual cycle or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny because I was training this married couple, and just what you were saying before, how they both went off into their programs. Of course, he saw a bunch of results. His body fat dropped way down. And she's like, this isn't fair. She's like, how come his body fat dropped, my body fat's still the same? And I'm like, okay, listen. I was like, well, because there's going to be a difference because you're a woman and he's a man. And she's like, well, I don't want there to be a difference. I'm like, he wouldn't want to hug on you if you were as muscular as him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was like, it's true. It's true. So we laughed about it in the sense where it's like, yes, the body fat percentage for women biologically is going to be higher, but because there's so many other reasons why, other than just, building muscle, we need to have a higher body fat percentage.
Right. And think about all the good hormones. Like, as a woman, if you still want to reproduce, if you're working on your fertility, you want to make sure that you're not pushing your body to that point of stress, because if you're pushing your body to that point of stress, it's actually going to impact your fertility. So you don't want to lose a lot of body fat at that time. You want to build muscle, and you will naturally lose body fat as you build muscle, but you don't want to overdo and shock your body. A man's body is designed to be higher in muscle mass, obviously. So that is why when they start exercising and eating well, their body's doing what it's meant to do.
What it was meant to do.
And our body is meant to hang on to the fat, because that is how we can nurture a child. That is how we can protect our own bodies. That is how we can menstruate. That is how, even after we're menstruating, we're protecting our bodies as women. And after menstruation, there's so many other hormonal things that women go through. So it's very complicated and complex and delicate, and you cannot compare men and women. That's why sometimes I tell people, don't go on a regimen with your husband. Right. If you guys want to work out together for fun, that's a different story. But don't ever get on a scale next to your husband. Don't ever take those like shirtless photos with your husband. It's always going to look different.
Always.
Fitness is always going to look different between men and women, and between people and different ages and different backgrounds. Fitness always looks different on every person. That's why you have to have a program that is designed for you and your body.
So, I guess even a step further is you shouldn't do that with your girlfriend either. And guys shouldn't do that with their friends, right?
Yeah.
As far as that whole comparison, and just kind of taking your journey for its individuality. Yes. And figuring out and learning yourself. What I would really like to emphasize, that I think when we're talking about hormonal responses to exercise, it's really paying attention to the impact the exercise is going to have versus the actual feeling you have during the exercise.
Yeah.
Right? What is something for yourself? Like, so you said after we did the workout here, you felt good after. What is something to look for to make when you say, okay, that workout wasn't enough? Because in addition to not doing too much, we also want to emphasize, we're not meaning that if you could do a little bit more, not to do it, right? So there are going to be times you want to push past your comfort zone, but not too far. So the key is finding whatever your like level 7, 8 is on that scale of 1 to 10. What is something that you feel within yourself where you're like, okay, something's out of whack with my body. That workout was just too much, or that workout wasn't enough?
So for me, if a workout was too much, is like, it's almost like the feeling of like the flu after, like body aches, not feeling energized, feeling like I have some sort of like blockage or limitation physically in my body. And that's happened before where like I wake up and I just feel like I got ran over by a truck. Like really just the next day, having hip pain, having like shooting pains in my ankle or whatever. That's how I know not good. Okay. And before I used to take that as like wow, I must have worked hard. And I'll tell you, part of that is also like, now I realize like not fueling my body appropriately before and after, because that helps a lot with feeling like I got ran over by a truck or feeling that flu feeling. Dehydration, getting enough protein, getting healthy foods, not going to a workout and then going to happy hour with my friends and having a glass or two of wine after.
That's right.
Again, it's like the coffee example of like dehydrating your body first thing in the morning. You don't want to dehydrate your body after a hard workout either. And alcohol is also very dehydrating.
It's taking everything what you're doing before and after, energy-wise, fueling the body and refueling the body.
Yeah, and just in never feeling like, there's a difference between feeling sore and feeling pain. You could feel sore and feel energized. And I think what I felt after I worked out with you, and I have actually significantly increased my protein intake. I haven't been waiting too long to eat after a workout, which is very important also, is after that workout, I felt so much more energized and I felt so much more stronger that I actually left here with more energy to get on with my day.
That's the key.
I didn't feel like you took a bat and beat me and then ran me over and then said, bye, like that was your work, and that's what I was used to, was like the more pain I'm in, the better I did. And I think I really was able to tap in, and it was like, wow, I feel so much more energized. I had so much more energy the rest of the day. It was crazy.
I'd love to hear that, because that's what I'm gauging through the entire workout. Whenever I'm working with somebody, it's like, okay, I can push them a little more. Okay, I can scale back here. It's just trying to find that spot that when you go through the rest of the day, you have a bunch of energy.
Right.
Yeah. So I think this is a good place to kind of leave people to remember what you're supposed to feel like after a workout, to help like foundationally support your hormonal responses.
Yes. And one thing I want to just add as like an indicator, if you are getting up between 2 and 4 in the middle of the night, or if you're waking up jittery, chances are your cortisol is off. That needs to be addressed before anything else. If your weight is stuck and you're having issues with your sleep and you're waking up jittery, or you're having trouble with sleep, chances are your cortisol or your adrenals are off. And again, no matter how hard you work at the gym, whether it's a 7 or a 10, if your adrenals are off, your weight is not going to shift. And that's something to keep into consideration. So that means not just lifestyle changes, but perhaps diet changes and addressing whatever is causing the inflammation in your body. And that could go very deep. So we're not going to get started on that, but just keep that in mind. Assess how you feel when you wake up. Assess what your sleep feels like as well.
Those would be some of the best indicators.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Well, you know us, trying to sit here and just change the world one person at a time.
No.
Good. Until next time.
Thank you.